for Laureano, and he runs it, and the Mets win the ball game.
Episode 71 of the Boroughs. I'm Kevin Blumk, as always, joined by Michael Merlo, and the man, Jack Sargent, joins the show today. First time debut for Sarge, our guy, resident Dodgers fan as well, so we're going to go through a lot of the NL playoff race. Sarge, we love you. Thanks for coming on, man. This is just a special one. We got a lot of stuff planned.
Glad to be here, Kevin. And I remember when you guys started this one up, 71 episodes. I kind of lost track of how long you guys have actually been doing this podcast for.
Yeah, this is year 2 now, and we've kind of been talking about it the last few weeks. This is the first time we're navigating a world where the Yankees and Mets suck, and now hopefully they get out of this rut, but it has not been the easiest second year, but a lot of fun, and we've been having a good time with it.
We got real lucky last year. Let's just say that. Real lucky. And now this year, I think, the tides are turning for us.
Yeah, we absolutely got lucky last year. I mean, I said to Mike, I think after the season ended, and we both kind of knew it, but 2 teams in the league championship series and 1 in the World Series, albeit they didn't win, is not going to happen probably ever again as long as we do this show. So that was a really lucky first season. This year, probably more of the status quo of what we'll get from.
Well, you know what's going to happen. The next season after you stop doing the show, whenever that is, if that ever happens, the Mets and the Yankees are going to be in the World Series together.
That's the Subway Series here.
Yep.
So let's do it one more year until after we plan on being done.
The day we're totally done with it, we have to go one more year.
Okay, sounds good.
So the Mets right now, not a World Series contender, absolutely dead. Mike, I'll let you take the floor. They've lost 9 of their last 10. The division is so far in the gone with the Phillies. It's just very sad state of affairs for the Mets. I don't even know how you're still watching these games.
It's embarrassing. We'll go over this. Over the last 6 games, the Mets have blown leads of 6 runs, 5 runs, 4 runs, 2 runs, and 1 run. 5 times with 1 run. They're 2-13 over their last 15 games. That's their worst 15-game span since stretch in May and June of 2018. Before last night's game, the Mets had lost 4+ lead of 4+ runs in each of their last 3 games. It's embarrassing. Nothing can go right. If you don't have your starting pitching, then your bullpen's going to be good. And if your bullpen's going to be bad, wow, you got 5 2/3 out of Kodai Senga. The first time a pitcher finished 5 innings in a game since I think it was a week and a half.
That's troubling.
It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing what is going on. And this is not a playoff team by any stretch of the imagination. It's going to be the Reds. And I'm not just trying to sit here and do a reverse jinx. It's going to be the Reds.
Sarge, I'm curious your perspective on the Mets because you are a Dodgers fan, and we'll get to the Dodgers' struggles as of late also. But as another NL contender, what is your view of the Mets, especially as the guy who watched them play in the playoffs last year in that 6-game series in the LCS?
Well, the one thing that I'm deeply surprised about that the Mets have fallen as much as they have is they had a good deadline. I liked the Mets deadline a lot. And one of the problems with the Dodgers is the Dodgers didn't do enough to fill the holes on the roster. We'll talk about that a little bit later, what those roster holes were. But I thought the Mets made some decent moves at the deadline. And, you can chalk it up to playing some, losing a series to the Brewers. And I know, the manner in which those games were lost is not conducive to a team that's going to make the playoffs. But I mean, Merlo, I'm sure that Braves series is just kind of the reminder or the realization of okay, this season's cooked.
Yeah, it was. Again, the Brewers series was funny because they were in every game and it was stupid mistakes that sort of took them out of those games. So I'm sitting there watching and I'm like, well, they're in these games with the best team in baseball. It wasn't as bad as people made it out to be. They blew the leads. They didn't win. I'm not saying they should get a participation trophy. I'm just saying they were close in those games. The Braves series is tough because you crush in the first one, and then you're up 6-0. You're up 6-0. They're in their bullpen already, and you have your best starter on the mound. It was just that right there is one of the more frustrating losses I've seen in a very long time.
Mike, I wanted to say this Monday and I forgot. Was there a worse team to see on your schedule than the Braves after that Brewers sweep? Out of all the teams, the 15-game sub 500 Braves were probably just an absolute death blow.
They're just so bad. They're really bad, Kevin. And again,
Awful.
the Mets are bad too, but I'm sitting here watching these games and I'm like, Atlanta is terrible. They're terrible.
And I texted you that first game of the series that they won should have been a morale booster for the Mets. You had the Alonso moment. I don't really care what anybody wants to say about it. Clearly the players cared. Clearly the organization cared. Clearly Pete cared. You got that win, and you fended off a near comeback from Atlanta in that game.
Yeah.
And you were able to win that. The bats started to come alive. It should have been a feel-good win and carry some momentum into the coming days. But it feels like the Mets right now, and actually you could include the Mets, Yankees, and Dodgers in this, but it feels like they're really struggling, and it's almost impossible to carry momentum from a win to the next day. Like, it feels like every day is such an individual season right now, and they just cannot bring momentum into the next day.
The interesting thing for me is looking at that stretch of games. If you go all the way back from the end of the Padres series, I think it's 7 one-run games. I'm sorry to pile on with that, Mike, but it's 7 one-run games for the Mets.
Which makes you feel partially like they can be on the other side of those at the end of September, but also just the way it's been trending, I don't know if I can get there.
I mean, there's no way with the level of starting pitching that they're getting, you're going to be on the other side of that. Because as much as I want to sit here and blame the bullpen for the blown leads, when they're coming into the game in the 4th or the 5th inning every single night, it's almost impossible to rely on these guys and think that you're going to get consistent outings from them.
You texted us with a question on who's to blame, and I really thought hard about who is to blame about the Mets. And people right now, I mean, our comments on TikTok and Instagram, fire Eric Chavez, fire Hefner, fire Mendoza. Like, we want to get rid of the whole coaching staff.
Yeah.
And that's typical fan behavior. But I got to go after, like, the Prince of Queens here and David Stearns, because we came into this season and said this pitching staff stinks. And the first 3 months, it was a pleasant surprise. We thought we had the fixer-upper year again that we had last season. But David Stearns did not put a good pitching staff on this roster. And you look through the rest of the National League, it's exactly what we said in the preseason. Like, this is not new for us to be thinking. The Mets rotation was worse coming into the year than the Padres, Dodgers, Phillies, and their NL counterparts. I mean, the teams they're trying to contend with, they had the worst starting rotation. And it has come to light here in the middle of August, where the last 2 months, they cannot start games. And now you're going to tax this great bullpen you've built before the postseason in a way that I don't even trust them in the playoffs now to get through October, which is its own complete gauntlet, And offensively, they've been good enough. Like, the offense is not the problem. And Mendoza and Eric Chavez, while maybe they could have been better, fine, I don't think that they are the sole problem. I think David Stearns built a really incomplete team with this pitching staff.
No, I think if you're going to put blame on one person for this season, for the way this season has gone, it is David Stearns. You know, the pitching method that we praised last season, that we praised at the beginning of this season, it does work, Kevin. It works, but it works when you have young talent that you bring up from the minor leagues, and those are your frontline guys. It works next season when you have Noah McLean and Brandon Sproat and Jonah Tong and Kodai Senga and David Peterson at the top of the rotation, towards the top. That's when it works. You want to bring in a 5th or a 6th guy as a cheap option that you feel like you could fix, great. But the fixer-upper option that he has gone with as your 3rd, 4th starter, that's a problem. That's a problem.
Let me make a point about the remainder of the schedule for both the Mets. And you, Merlo, you're talking about the Mets are dead. This isn't a playoff team. Pulled up the schedule to take a look at who they have versus who the Reds have. And the Reds definitely have the easier way. September, it kind of sucks.
It's awful.
Like, dang, all the teams that the Mets are getting. So, rest of July, 3 games against Seattle, then Washington, Atlanta again. And then, end of August is kind of when the suck for the schedule for the Mets starts. 3 games set against the Phillies, then you get the Marlins at home. That's all a homestand. Those 7 games leading into September. But Phillies playoff team. Then open September, Detroit playoff team. Then you get Cincinnati. That's a team you're battling for a wild card with. Then second week of September, 4 games against the Phillies. That's the division champion right there. Texas, do you want to call them a playoff team? Maybe, maybe not, but that's a team that's going to be in there with
Tough
a
team.
Then Padres, and then another series against the Nationals, and then the Cubs. So in September alone, you're playing against 5 playoff teams in Detroit, Cincy, Philly, San Diego, and if you want to stretch it, say Texas, versus Cincinnati's schedule the rest of the way. Angels, Diamondbacks, Cardinals. We mentioned the Mets series. Toronto and the Dodgers are mixed in there. The Dodgers are slumping right now, so I think the Reds will take at least a game from the Dodgers in that series. Then they get San Diego after that Mets series that I referenced at the first weekend of September. Then San Diego, the A's, and St. Louis. That is cupcake through that week of September. Then a 4-game set against the Cubs, and then they have 3 more against the Pirates before closing the season in Milwaukee. So that's a much easier schedule. You're not playing 5 playoff teams if you're the Reds. So I can understand how you are there right now, Mike, even though you look at it and you say you lost 7 one-run games. You could be on the other end of those, but you're losing 7 one-run games against teams like the Guardians and the Giants, and the Giants weren't one-run game against the Giants, but teams like the Giants, the Braves, and the Guardians, as opposed to division champion.
Mm-hmm. It's not going to get better. I don't see how this gets better. And that's the issue. That's why I think we are going to be sitting here in, late September, early October with them missing the playoffs. And I think we're asking serious questions. I don't think Stearns gets fired. I don't think Hefner gets fired. I don't think Mendoza gets fired.
I'm going to go out there right now and say if they miss the playoffs, Mendoza's getting canned.
Really?
Yeah, I think we haven't seen irrational, crazy Steve Cohen yet, but you can't tell me there's not some in there.
I think there is. I don't think he has it.
I just think you don't get to $30 billion hedge funds without having a little bit of an irrational, aggressive, competitive bone in your body. I think Mendoza gets canned because I don't think Mendoza's that good, and I don't think Cohen's going to stand for that.
What did you do at a 180 on Mendoza?
This year, I have. He wants to keep going to the press conferences saying, we have the talent here. Then whose fault is it on the roster? Because I think they have the talent here too. I've been saying that since the deadline. The guys that are going to turn this around are the guys they already have.
Well, I don't think they have the talent pitching-wise.
Listen, let me put it this way. I think if you fire Carlos Mendoza and you hire whoever the next best assistant is, you're not getting worse. And I think Cohen's going to see that. Bring back Luis Rojas. It'd be the same team.
No, it wouldn't.
He's very available. He's been an elite third base coach for many years now. He's very available.
Elite sending guys. I don't think Mendoza gets canned, and I would give him an extension after this year. That's what I would do. I'd do the opposite.
That's insanity.
He gets an extension.
If they miss the playoffs, that is insanity.
I don't see how you could blame this on him.
I would if I'm the owner. I'm saying you're not getting enough out of my players easily. I just spent so much money on this team this offseason. And I'm not firing Stearns because as much as I think this season's Stearns' fault, I don't think he's bad.
Of course he's not bad.
Yeah, I think he's one of the better executives in the sport, so I'm not going to get rid of him. He has a track record. Mendoza, I think Mendoza's been pretty lame this summer.
That's terrible.
I understand that. I'd take the middle ground. I wouldn't do anything. I'd be like, okay, this is unacceptable. Obviously, you're not. I agree with you. You're not firing Stearns under any circumstance, but
yep.
I wouldn't go as far as saying I'm giving Mendoza an extension. I just don't know that I would do that because, and that's a fair point. If you hire the next best assistant in the sport, you're not getting worse. But I don't really know if that's the right course of action.
I also don't think that Cohen has that aggressiveness that you kind of talk about that George Steinbrenner used to have. I think he's a very rational guy. I don't, you say I don't know how he gets to 30 billion without being aggressive. I think his conservative mindset of him not taking massive, not making stupid moves, not thinking quickly and just doing whatever he feels like instantly. I think that's what got him to where he is.
Yeah, but I just feel like, you know what? If I was sitting there, and I'll never be sitting there. But if I was sitting there in his spot, I'm saying I have the money to pay any of the guys I want. We spoke about Kevin Cash being a guy that someone's going to poach this offseason, I think, and I mentioned it being the Yankees should be aggressive for him. The Mets should be all in for Kevin Cash if that's something they wanted to do. If they're actually letting the manager manage the team, the Mets should be firing Mendoza and hiring Kevin Cash right away the second the season ends if you miss the playoffs.
We were talking about Mendoza as one of the best managers in baseball last year, one of the best managers in baseball 2 months ago. And now we're doing a 180 on Mendoza.
2 months ago, I was not saying that. And it was, I was saying the Mets are one of the best teams in baseball, if not the best, but last year he did a great job getting that team to where they are. But you have by far the most expensive team in the sport, and a team that we can't also say they have one of the best rosters for the first 3 months and then just decide Mendoza in mid-August has nothing to work with.
But most expensive roster doesn't mean best roster. We know that.
And Stearns has serious questions to answer for Steve.
Well,
Cohen.
it's not his fault that the past regime gave Starling Marte $15 million a year, and
yeah, but let's
Brandon
not act
Nimmo's
like
$20 million
let's not
a
act
year.
like Steve Cohen didn't pour 90% of them. And you like Nimmo. We're Nimmo guys. Like, we like that contract.
I'm not in love with that contract.
We liked it at the time. Nimmo gets what he deserves.
A
He's a good
year,
man.
yes. I just hate the amount of time he's going to be here for.
And I mean, me and Sarge, you're talking to guys here who have been saying fire Aaron Boone and fire Dave Roberts. Maybe Sarge is off that train now since I last really saw him in person, but we hate our managers too. So like, I think Mendoza's in the same boat as those guys.
I'll
but not great.
I'll let Sarge finish this here.
I mean, going back to that, yeah, I will say kind of off the fire Dave Roberts train.
He had one of the greatest postseason runs from a manager I've ever seen in my life.
Exactly. And
That was
that's
unbelievable.
That's what did it.
What's crazy is that last year in the World Series, I've never actually even spoken about this, but as you're watching it, you're saying like Dave Roberts is doing a great job and Boone is messing up every single thing he could possibly be doing.
I think you or me may have sent one of those messages to texting you during the World Series.
Did.
I'm pretty sure I said something like that to you, or you said something like that to me.
Like, Roberts made just about every right move, and Boone could not have made more wrong moves in that series.
Which was so uncharacteristic. I was like, what am I watching?
All
Mike,
postseason,
anything else?
From Roberts.
Yeah, all postseason. He was great. He was great all postseason. He definitely, the last, I'll count the 2020 ring too, but last year he definitely shook off any of that hate, negative. I mean, he's top, you got to call him a top 5 manager in the sport now.
After that, yeah.
Yeah. McLean Saturday, Mike, you got to be pumped for that.
I'm pumped. We'll see what happens there. Can the kids save the season? Can the kids save the pitching staff? Who the hell knows? But yeah, I'm pretty pumped for that. We'll see how it goes.
And another note you put real quick to wrap up Mets and go more into the NL playoff race. Vientos never plays. Why did they keep him at the deadline? Like, why is he still on the team?
I have no clue.
He's not going to be on the team
don't.
in April next year.
He's not going to be on the team next year. It's actually shocking at the amount he doesn't play. I'm like, oh my God, he's out of the lineup again. It's almost laughable. It's almost laughable how much he doesn't play. So yeah, it's fascinating. And I don't know what happens with him in the offseason. I don't know what you get for him. I would start to play him. Let's raise some value here. Let's start to get the bat in the lineup. But you can't take Marte's bat out of the lineup at third. DH, though. He's been too good.
All right, Sarge, NL playoff race. You're our guy here. The Dodgers right now are the 5 seed. I want to get your state of their team before we go into the big picture.
It's not great. I'm going to be honest with you. Over the last week, I'm out on the Dodgers winning the NL West. I think it's going to be the Padres that are going to win that division, and that's not hitting the panic button and saying, oh, just because you lost a series to the Angels. The Padres, Mike, I texted you after the deadline that bullpen that the Padres put together is just, that's a machine. They have the ability to shorten games, and they've just been playing such good baseball as of late. And you botched it by getting rid of that 9-game cushion you have. Here's the thing that the Dodgers have done almost consistently the past few seasons is in April, and I don't remember what you guys were saying about the Dodgers in April, but April, May, the Dodgers have a tendency. They did this in 24, they did this in 23, they did this in 22, and they did this in 2021 to just be absolute world beaters. And every single year, and some of this is just the national media being hyperventilating and things like that. But every single year in April, it's like, oh, are the Dodgers going to be like on a 110, 115 game win season trajectory type of thing? And then, random guys are hitting out of their mind. Tommy Edman hit, I think, 12 home runs before the middle of May or something like that. It was insane. And then What happened every year, with the exception of 2022, which was the year the Dodgers actually won 110 plus games, is middle of the season, there starts to be pitching injuries. That's what happened last year. That's what happened in 23. That's what happened in 21. There starts to be pitching injuries. Guys start, getting into slumps a little bit, as things normally happen through the course of the season. The Padres catch up to the Dodgers a little bit, whether it's the Padres or sometimes it's the Giants. They catch back up. They get within a couple games. And then August, September, this kind of time comes around, and the Dodgers maybe have a 4 or 5 game cushion. They dink around with it a little bit, and they dinked around last year with, they should have clinched the division maybe a week earlier than they actually did. The disastrous series against the Padres in September last year, where my favorite thing was when Miguel Rojas hit into a triple play with the bases loaded and Shohei Ohtani on deck. Stuff like that happens, but the Dodgers end up pulling it out. The difference this time is that multi-game lead. I said average is about 5 games at about this point in the season is gone. Now you just got swept by the Angels. You're sitting a game behind of the Padres, who are not getting worse. Now, the good thing for the Dodgers is the schedule is decently easy. They got some series against the Rockies, a couple series against the Rockies, among some other middling teams in the National League. So I don't think the Dodgers are not a playoff team. And I'll go as far as to say I don't think that they're going to be the 6th seed, because that's an extra 4 games to drop against the 2 teams that are going to be in contention for that 6th seed are the Mets, who we just spent time talking about how they're kind of a ship without a rudder.
Awful.
And then the Reds.
Stink.
And I just never, it is a rebuttable presumption to never trust Cincinnati in a pennant race. Is that a fair statement to say about the Reds?
Where I'm at now with that playoff race, I know, Mike, you've been kind of hinting at you don't think the Mets are totally going to make the playoffs. I just, as much as I have loved the Reds this year, Sarge, for background, I picked the Reds to win the division. As much as I've loved the Reds before the season started, and this year, I just cannot see them being the team that strings together enough wins to get that 6th seed. I think it's got to be the Mets, because still, you just look at the lineup. The lineup's going to win them a couple games that they need in September, the Mets.
I wish I could have that confidence. And I'm just looking now, and we'll talk about the Dodgers issues, Sarge. Like, they spent $1 billion on this bullpen, and then they had everybody get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, you could spend all the money you want, you could do whatever you want in the bullpen, you could build this super pen, but at the end of the day, these guys either didn't stay healthy, or when they were healthy, like Tanner Scott, they really weren't effective. And we know how year-to-year relievers are. That's the risk you run when you pay a big-time reliever a crap ton of money, because, 1 year he could be one of the best in baseball, and the next you get this kind of performance from him.
And I will say one thing about that. I'm a little bit concerned with the whiff that Tanner Scott signing has been, because Andrew Friedman's not afraid to go out and swing big at someone. We all know that about Andrew Friedman, but he is the type of guy that has a little bit of risk-averse nature in him. And I'd be very, troubled to see him, if that Tanner Scott situation would make him turn around and say, I'd be a little bit more careful about going out and committing to a reliever. And then, you have a situation where you have to duct tape the bullpen together, which happened a couple of the seasons that the Dodgers didn't win in seasons in which they should have, because the bullpen wasn't as strong as it could be. But this is the problem that, and not to jump the gun, because I know you said we'll get into the Dodgers problem, but injury at the end of the day has been the Dodgers problem. I think it's miraculous that they won the World Series last year, given the injury situation in the rotation. And I didn't think it could get worse than last year, and it's gotten worse.
I am curious with Scott. Do you think that there's like an identifiable, just from watching him, we've seen the stats, we don't really watch too many Dodgers games every night when Scott's pitching, but is there like an identifiable issue with him? Because similarly for me, Devin Williams this year has been an all-time disaster for the Yankees, and I can confidently say emotionally he is just destroyed. I don't know. Does Scott have something going on that just seems like the problem when he's pitching?
It's tough to say. I not to piggyback off of your point, but you could make, if you're like, okay, go sit down and hyper analyze X amount of his last appearances, I could probably come to the conclusion to say, okay, yeah, he's shot from, XYZ or whatever, but it's at the end of the day, I'll pile, you can pile on injuries and whatever, but there's more to this problem. This is a deeply flawed team, and there's more to it than just the injuries and guys in the bullpen not being effective. Michael Conforto, ship him on the nearest
How is he
plane.
still playing? How does this guy still play?
Ship that brother on the nearest plane to Pluto and get him out of this league.
And then let me push back here for a second, because, and not push back, but agree with you. You have the Padres, who we know are just reckless. They're so aggressive. You never want to be like them, right? And they traded 6 prospects for Ryan O'Hearn and Ramon Laureano. But wouldn't a guy like Ramon Laureano work here? I mean, wouldn't have been the perfect replacement
exactly
for Michael Conforto? How are they not getting you already all in here? You're already spent a ton of money on this roster. Why not go all in?
That's what we were screaming, and I say we as in Dodger fans on social media. The trade deadline, we were saying, what the heck? Why are we not doing something about left field? Michael Conforto is hitting comfortably below the Mendoza line. We're not talking about a guy who's like, okay, yeah, he's hitting below the Mendoza line, but it's like, oh, he's hitting 197 or something like that. Michael Conforto is hitting, I believe it's 187
it's 187
this season. Yeah, 187. So that's 13 points below 200. And he is still contributing regularly. There were times during this Angels series where he was coming up and there were runners on base in high leverage situations like, okay, this game's over because Michael Conforto is going to strike out or hit into a double play or some crap like that. And he has been as useless as I have seen an outfielder be. And it's kind of interesting because last year the Dodgers had Jason Hayward, who was kind of that similar type of situation. I'm not saying Jason Hayward and Michael Conforto are the same type of baseball player, but veteran outfielder. And my goodness, it feels strange to call Michael Conforto a veteran outfielder, but
yeah,
that's where we are these days. Veteran outfielder, lefty bat, who's not great, but just kind of filling that role. And the Dodgers DFA'd Jason Hayward, ironically, the morning after he hit a walk-off home run. Michael Conforto is certainly not hitting any walk-off home runs anytime soon, but Michael Conforto has been able to survive in a way that I just cannot explain what is in the organization's headspace about keeping him on this roster. And again, that is not to say that Michael Conforto is the only issue on this team, but it adds to it. And you talk about that. Ramon Laureano would have been a perfect fit to put in this team.
Like, you had Laureano and Bader, who I thought both would have fit really well with the Dodgers, and they both go to NL contenders other than the Dodgers. But real quick on Conforto, I mean, Mike, you'll know this firsthand, but has he not had just the weirdest career in baseball out of all the guys that are still active? Because 2017, he plays 109 games for the Mets, and I remember it clearly. He felt like he was one of the next star outfielders in baseball. He had 939 OPS. He had 27 home runs in 109 games. And then in the next few years, he's solid, 800 OPS, 860 OPS. The COVID season, he has a 930 OPS. 2021 has a decent walk year, but not really good enough. Mets aren't too interested. And then he just doesn't play because there's the lockout and then there's the injury, and he just doesn't play at all the next year in 2022. And then he has the year with San Fran in 23, and he's just now with the Dodgers awful. And it's a weird career for Conforto.
Yeah,
year 11 now.
It looked like he was going to be one of the next great Mets, and we know that position players and power hitters, we know that the Mets don't have a great history there. I mean, Pete Alonso just broke the record with 253 home runs. That's been made fun of. It is what it is. So it looked like he was going to be one of those next great position players, and he ended up not becoming that, but still high on lists, but not the next great one.
So
the crazy thing about Michael Conforto, just one thing, thinking about him as one of the next great Mets, when you look back in history, he's a guy who had a two homer game in a World Series, and he'll be one of the most random 2-homer games. I mean, that's going to be like a baseball sicko bar trivia question. Give me a random idiot who hit 2 home runs in a World Series game. Michael
Wow, to you,
Conforto.
he's an idiot right now. That's how bad he's been for you. He's an
Valid.
idiot.
I mean, fair
That's
concern.
crazy.
Sarge, last specific thing I want to mention with the Dodgers, what happened to Mookie Betts? Is this a real age-related regression or what? Because I felt like last year he was still a top 4 or 5 player in baseball. He's been an MVP top 3 guy for the last 5 years, and now like just falling off a cliff.
Here's the thing. This reminds me a lot of his 2021 season, and it's weird because he was still an all-star that year, but Dodgers players are always going to get more love in like Dodger players that are middling, that are stars, are always going to get more love because of how big the fan base is and whatever. I don't think Mookie Betts should have been an all-star in 2021, but he's had years like this where he's been, kind of a little bit on the down low. But I mean, this is worse than I think you could have possibly imagined. I sat last night trying to figure out how I was going to, touch on this. What do you explain? I don't know. Maybe it is age, and that's very concerning for a guy that you committed that much financial capital to. If he's at age 32 and it's like, okay, he's now going to start hitting sub 250. And Mookie Betts has had a very interesting career as far as home run versus average number. The MVP year was obviously an aberration. Aside from that, he's only had two plus 300 batting seasons. That was 2016, his first All-Star year, the first one of those. And then 2023, where, him and Ronald Acuna for August, it looked like that Mookie Betts was going to have a shot to win that MVP. In that point, that was, the last truly great year that Betts had. There were points last year where he was kind of having it down. He only had 19 home runs. So it was, even though he was an all-star, again, kind of the same situation in 2021. Couple of, downer years for him. Only 19 home runs, batted 289 for the season, which, is 289 is not bad in 2024 baseball. But, this was a guy who was 20 plus home runs and high 20 plus home runs, and especially off of 22 and 23 where he had 35 and 39 home runs. I mean, going from that to what he was last year and then siphoning that into this year, there were a little bit of concerns last year, but I'm not ready to say, okay, push the panic button on Mookie Betts, because he's still in his age 32 year, and his career has kind of ebbed and flowed, and there's been better times and worse times. I think if 2020 had been a full season, you would have seen a little bit closer to the Mookie Betts of 2021 than you did than the Mookie Betts of 22 and 23, just with the way that he played over those 60 games. But I'm troubled. That's the word that I would use to describe the situation right now with him, because it doesn't look great.
All right, let's pivot it to the Yankees, unless you guys have anything else on the NL. Take a couple minutes here. Breakdown. Yankees beat the Twins. There's really nothing that gets the Yankees right, like playing Minnesota or Kansas City or really anyone in the AL Central. They get 2 out of 3. Wish they would have got the sweep. They didn't hit against Joe Ryan. He's a stud. But I don't have too much besides the fact that, they're still half a game up, and their next couple weeks they have to have a big stretch because it could decide their season.
And Stanton is just on another tear.
I made that video earlier in the week, underrated hitter. And we'll even talk more about Stanton at the end of the show, because we're doing Hall of Fame or not with 12 or 13 guys that I think are the best cases right now among active players, the best discussions, and Stanton's one of them. But yeah, Stanton is on an absolute tear.
It's what he does. This is what he does best. He gets hot and you can't get him out, and he hits the ball farther and harder than everybody in the league. And he's just, you have to play him. I know they were trying to DH him a little bit. Well, they didn't want to play right field, for more than multiple games in a row, and they had no choice.
In a row against Minnesota, and he's been fine. You don't expect him to get to the gaps, but he's been fine.
He's been fine, and you got to get the bat in the lineup, and that's what they're doing.
And easy for him, contrary to past years, they have 2 elite center fielders in Grisham and Bellinger on any given night, so he's not dealing with late career Aaron Hicks or somebody in center field, or Judge in center field, who can't also cover the gaps.
Late career Aaron Hicks. I love that shout. Kevin, you were talking about this a little bit in the preliminaries before we started recording this, that the Yankees are coming up. And I'm sorry to steal this from you.
Go for it, man.
I'll lay it out rather lightly. this schedule, the schedule that the Yankees have for the rest of the season, especially in September, is, I mean, that is no offense, that is like red velvet cupcake level.
Oh, if they don't make the playoffs with this schedule, that's, Boone absolutely should be fired. And I mean, this is a disaster miss if they don't get in.
Yeah, so from the end of August until through September, if you don't make the playoffs with this schedule, I'm going to lay out the teams. Send Aaron Boone to the sun, and then make sure you send that rocket right into the core of the sun.
Dead.
3 games to close out August. 3 games against Washington and Chicago. Then Houston, Toronto, Detroit. Okay, those are 3 playoff teams. Boston, that last Boston series is going to be extraordinarily important. But then after that, Minnesota, what were you just saying? The Yankees' favorite pastime, beating up on the Minnesota Twins, 3 games there. Baltimore, White Sox, Baltimore again. That last 3 weeks of the season is, I mean, if Aaron Boone doesn't get fired, if the Yankees miss the playoffs because of that stretch of the imagination, and I'd go as far as to say if the Yankees aren't the number 1 wild card spot with that schedule, then you gotta have that conversation. If they're not the number 1 wild card spot, and if they miss the playoffs,
you get 7 games against Boston, who you cannot beat, but 7 of them, you get 7 of them the rest of the year, and 4 of them are at home. So perfect opportunity to at least get into the second wild card. Seattle potentially out of your control, but it's also a place I can see them blowing this season is those 2 Boston series.
As Booney likes to say, it's right in front of them. It's right in front of them.
It's right in front of them right now.
Got the Sox.
Can I ask you a question, Kevin?
Yeah.
What has it been with this recent era of Yankees baseball and their just inability to beat the Red Sox?
I think, and I usually don't go here, like the players could play better. Cora has Boone's number in a way that other managers don't have each other's number. Like whenever there's a close game, he's just the one that elevates his team. And Boone, for some reason, and it probably has a lot to do with Cora, but he really struggles against Boston. Like if you pinpoint his worst series every year, it's Boston every year. And Cora runs all over the Yankees. The catchers don't throw guys out on the Yankees. He's the only one that really does that. And I think now this season, when they had gotten swept by him earlier in the year, it was that first weekend of Meyer being up and the young injection of talent really being there. And they just had like a real juice. That's kind of what started their positive stretch this season for Boston. And it started the Yankees' negative summer. The Red Sox just had an energy with Narvaez and Meyer that series and Crochet that was just contagious for their whole team. And the Yankees just like shied away from that. It was a really bad series. But
Crochet's been everything and more that they could have asked for. And they locked him up, obviously. But he's been, I mean, him and Schoolball and DeGrom, they're right up there for the Cy Young, and Hunter Brown for the AL Cy Young. Just an incredible season from him, too.
I'd vote for Garrett Crochet to be the Cy Young. I go out on that limb. I'd vote for him.
Yeah, he is the guy that I think if anyone's going to beat Scooble, it'll be him, because I don't think DeGrom will have the innings. Evaldi won't at the end of the year. The problem for Evaldi, too, is you can argue he's not even the best pitcher on his team, so that's going to hurt him. And then Hunter Brown is just not as good as Scooble or Crochet. So I think if there's any guy, Sarge, it is Crochet for sure.
What a Cy Young race in the AL. That's crazy.
It's great. It's a great Cy Young race in the AL.
Terrible league.
No, I really didn't want to go here today. I think the NL is so much worse than everyone likes to give it credit for. Like, the Mets suck, dude. The Mets in the AL are the Yankees. It's the same team.
We're not talking about the Mets. I agree the Mets
No, we're
suck.
talking about the NL. The Mets suck, and everyone acts like there's these 6 elite teams. There are not 6 teams better than the best team in the AL.
Okay, ready?
The
top
Cubs
3
stink.
teams.
The Cubs are awful.
3 teams in the National League are better than any American League team. I don't give a crap what the record says.
The top 3 are, but then I think the AL probably has 4 teams better than the Cubs.
No, I mean, I don't like the Cubs either, but I don't think 4 teams.
The Mariners have gotten no returns on their deadline ads, and they haven't lost a game.
Kevin, I'm with you on this one.
The Dodgers aren't the 4th best team in baseball?
No, I don't think they are.
Not the last month. Not the last month.
They've been terrible too.
The Dodgers are the 4th best team in baseball.
I'm taking
Maybe the
all
fifth.
three
Maybe
teams
the fifth.
right now. If they played a 7-game series, I am betting on all three teams in the AL first place spots over the Dodgers in a 7-game series right
Well,
now.
you might as well go donate your money to charity.
No,
because
that's
that
what you're doing this weekend is
that
donating money.
Well,
I'm
yeah.
not this weekend. I'm not donating money.
That is crazy. I don't think so. Maybe
You're
the
giving out the
Jays.
donations,
I'm
not
definitely donating. But either way,
me. AL is awesome. It's
No, it's
awesome. It's
not.
America's pastime, the American League.
It is a
Show
really
some
good league.
respect. Show some respect.
The
zero
AL
respect.
is really fun. The AL is really fun. Like this wild card race in
I
the
don't think a
AL,
bunch of mid teams in first place is fun. I
I mean,
really
that's
don't.
what the NL
You-
is. That's what the bottom
You're
of the
such a
NL is.
hater. You're such a
I am
hater
a
on the
AL
Blue Jays
hater.
and Tigers. The
I
Blue
am.
Jays are Blue Jays in every offensive metric are the most impressive lineup in baseball.
And you
they're
think that's
pitching
going to
well,
last?
And their bullpen's been very good. The Tigers are really, I mean, we act like the Tigers did nothing last year. The Tigers, if we want to talk about how successful the Mets' second half of the season was and their final 2/3 of the season, the Tigers were just as good. They just didn't get through the playoffs.
What did they do with the trade deadline to get better?
They just didn't get Charlie Morton's been insane there already.
What
Show
else
some
did they
respect
do?
for
They
your
needed some
elders.
relievers.
He's the
They
best
needed
playoff pitcher in
relievers.
baseball. World Series champ Charlie Morton is a
I like the
Tiger.
Charlie Morton move.
Astros don't even have Alvarez. What happens when they get Alvarez? That's the best team in baseball now.
No, they're
What
scary.
happens to
They're those-
Milwaukee in October? Yeah, but Astros are going to the World Series, man.
Yeah,
Astros
no.
are absolutely going to the World Series.
Yeah, no, the rest of the you got to take at least two of the division leaders in the AL and say they're better than the fourth
Then
best. team.
everyone. And the Yankees, too. Lead the league in WAR.
Yeah, I'm not getting there.
They lead the league in team WAR.
I
Can't
can't
argue
get
it.
there.
Can't argue it. Let's do little Kyle Schwarber, who'd you rather? Unless you guys have anything else around baseball that you want to discuss.
I am good.
All right. So this is Sarge's first who'd you rather. But the way we do it is I have a list of 12 players that I'll just read off. You'll let me know you'd rather them or Kyle Schwarber. Schwarber having an insane year, 4th in the league in OPS right now. First name on the list, this one's tailor-made for Mike. Throwing him a little slow pitch batting practice. Pete Crow Armstrong.
You go
Mike,
first,
you go.
Sarge.
No, you go. You go.
I'm going to take Pete Crow Armstrong. I mean, like, as much as I want to sit here and say Kyle Schwarber, the more I look at it, he plays great defense. He steals bags. Offensively, he's been mid lately. He really has taken a nosedive, but it's PCA.
Yeah, a week ago I would have said, maybe not a week ago, definitely beginning of July, middle of July, I would have said around the All-Star break time, Pete Crow Armstrong easily. I still take him because Kyle Schwarber's having an insane year, but I have never loved Kyle Schwarber as a player because all he does is hit home runs. He doesn't do anything else for me, and it's successful. Kyle Schwarber's just never the type of player I'd build my team around.
Yeah, and PCA also has been struggling, but I would also take PCA. Mike, another one for you. Pete Alonso.
Yeah, this one's going to be Schwarber. I mean, over the last couple of seasons now, he's been the more productive player in terms of offensive, just production. More home runs, more RBIs, a lot more home runs. And he gets on base more. And the batting average the last couple of seasons for Schwarber has risen. But again, the on base is always going to be higher than Pete's. I will take Schwarber.
Same here. Kyle Schwarber, 371 on base clip this year, 42 home runs. Past 3 out of the last 4 seasons, 40 home runs. Pete Alonso hasn't hit 40 in 2 seasons. He might get to 40 this year, but he's at 28 right now. Kyle Schwarber, obviously, I just said where he's at. Kind of similar types of player in terms of the way that Kyle Schwarber and Pete Alonso play. Kyle Schwarber's the better of these two.
Next, let's go with the most underrated star in baseball, Ketel Marte.
I'm going to take Ketel Marte. Last season we saw what he could do. He was hurt at points this season. But, again, the defense, when you're able to play, a position at any level, now talking about a high level for Ketel Marte, it's going to trump what Schwarber can do. And he's having an unbelievable season. He's got 955 OPS this
Yep.
year. So it's easy.
Just something very quick about Ketel Marte. I don't know if you guys remember his 2019 season, his other previous All-Star year. I don't know if you were NL West sickos that year, but like Ketel Marte, I thought Ketel Marte was going to be like the next force in the NL. Like I was terrified of having to play that guy as many times this season as the division was going to have to be. I take Ketel Marte obviously in this, leading to that, but the last 2 years for Ketel Marte, getting back to that 2019 level has just been absolutely incredible.
Yeah, Marte's always been one of my guys because he was, for some reason, him and Robbie Ray were heavily linked to the Yankees for like 3 years. And then it got clear that Marte was just too good. Like you weren't going to get him. And that was probably 2019, 2020 was when that happened. But he got the extension and you just forgot about it. But also, simultaneously, that was when I played MLB The Show. And he was my guy in that. So just shout out to MLB The Show 18.
I'm sure he didn't even sign a 6-year, $105 million contract to MLB The Show because they knew that was going to be that just unfair.
Yeah. No. Very unfair. He was a Yankee and everything I did. But anyways, next up on the list. I think this is a really interesting name. And remember, we're leaving age out of this. It's just right now, who'd you rather? And it's Vladdy Jr.
I'm gonna take Schwarber has been so good that he's been this year. I think I'm gonna take Schwarber. He's been way too. I mean, he's double the home runs. Vlad has. He's double the home runs. He's getting on base.
His OPS is
100
points higher too right now. Vlad's getting up there.
60 points
higher. 60 points higher. Yeah.
Yeah, this one. I would be tempted to say take Vlad because the average is about double what Schwarber's average is, but the home runs are double what Schwarber. The home runs are double, as you said there. Again, similar type of player. I can live with my first baseman being a 250 guy who has that many home runs. So give me Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah, and the interesting thing with Vlad is you're not getting a significant defensive difference, even though he plays the field every day. You don't feel like you're getting an elite defender, so it's tough to give him a huge edge at all. Next
Vlad
one
has been, by the way, Vlad has been really good. He's really turned it on here. He's been really good for them.
But he's been great. He's going to have finished the year with well over a 900 OPS if he keeps trending this way. So he's going to be one of the top 5-6 MVP guys in the AL, probably, if he continues on this. So, Vlad definitely a stud. Juan Soto. It's a tough one, too, this year.
You go first, George.
I take Schwarber right now. Soto's OBP is elite right now, but I'm taking the home run value here. I'm taking the home run value. You guys are losing your minds right now because I'm sure you weren't expecting that I was going to
Mike's immediate reaction. He's like, "You take that one, Sarge."
I didn't see your face because I was on Baseball Reference. I'll have to go back and watch this because I wish I saw your facial reaction.
Immediately went like somebody just got murdered. He was like, "You're up, Sarge."
Sorry, Mike. I didn't mean to have to.
I would take Schwarber this year too.
I mean, it has to be. It has to be. He's better at everything besides on base. It has to be Kyle Schwarber, as much as I hate to say it. I mean, it sucks. But
How much did you pay? How much did you pay him in the offseason, Mike?
He's gonna be fine. He's gonna win an MVP.
I know.
I heard Stearns is gonna give. He's gonna use his $50 million a year this offseason on Schwarber.
Hey, you want to bring Schwarber in and have him hit next to him? No problem.
This one, I think, I'd like to open up to more of like a 2 or 3 year study. Would you rather Schwarber or Rafi Devers? Because I think right now you're taking Schwarber, but what about, I mean, even including age, like the next year or two, who would you rather have?
That's great. That's a great question. So definitely right now it's Schwarber. And then I think over the next year or two, I think you could seriously make a case for Kyle Schwarber. Defensively, you're not getting anything out of Rafi. And how long is it going to take him to adjust to a new park? It's not a hitter-friendly park. It'll be interesting to see what Rafi Devers is for the rest of his career. I'll take Schwarber for the next year or two as well.
Yeah, I would take Schwarber for the next couple of years. We know the one thing I want to say about Rafael Devers very quickly is we know that guy's a very emotional player, and I wouldn't be surprised if the brother isn't performing as well because he's got the emotional thing of the Red Sox and maybe feeling like the Red Sox screwed me over, whatever, dumped me in San Francisco. He obviously has to know that it's not a hitter-friendly ballpark, and I'm sure that hasn't been the best aspect about being moved to San Francisco in there, but Kyle Schwarber right now, you're never getting anything defensively out of Rafael Devers, as you just said, and he's better in all of the metrics right now, and I think he'll stay there. And, Devers, even if Devers gets back to a 25-plus home run situation, I would still take Kyle Schwarber because both guys are around 370 OBP guys if you're kind of going to kind of average it out. And I would take Schwarber because I'm going to get more home run production out of him.
Sarge, this next one's tailor-made for you. This season alone, Kyle Schwarber, Freddie Freeman.
I knew Freddie Freeman was going to be in here. Listen, I'm biased to Freddie Freeman because I think Freddie Freeman is the best pure hitter of this generation. I'm always going to take Freddie Freeman over just about anybody. I don't know that I would start a franchise with Freddie Freeman today because we're getting close. He's getting older in age, but in 2022, I would have built my franchise around Freddie Freeman. He's just a pure hitter. Power comes from it, but he's a guy who, this year he's not doing the traditional 3-4-5. The OBP is a little bit down from his insane years in 22 and 23, but still a 372 on base clip, 480 slug there. So again, not a traditional 3-4-5 season. But for a guy in his age 35 season who's still hitting 300, is still going to have probably 20 bombs by the end of the year, give me Freddie Freeman.
I'm also going to take Freeman. You mentioned how great of a hitter he is. He's great defensively at first. I'm going to take Freddie, and I don't think it's crazy. I understand that the OPS is almost 100 points higher, and the home runs are basically double. I'm still going to take Freddie because of the presence that he brings and the kind of hitter that he is.
Yeah, when it just comes to you have one game tonight for, Game 7 of the World Series, who are you taking? I think I'm putting Freddie on my team also. And Freeman, just one of those guys, as I was looking through his stats last night, putting this list together, to have a 900 career OPS with the quote-unquote lack of power that Freeman has is so impressive over 16 years because he has had the big home run seasons in Atlanta where he's hit 35, 38, but 900 OPS for a guy who's a real, true, pure contact hitter is just astounding over a 16-year career.
It is. He's great.
Next one I thought was interesting. It's Bryce Harper. Is Schwarber the best player on his own team? Is he the guy that you're taking on his own team? Harper having a better year than I think we realize, but leave it to you guys, Bryce or Schwarber.
I mean, Harper had the injury, and before that, he wasn't as great. I think this season, it's clear that it's Schwarber, but this season he's been the best player on his own team. But going forward, I mean, it's obviously Harper.
Yeah, I kind of fall in that same boat. If we're just talking on a purely this year basis, I'll take Kyle Schwarber, but Bryce Harper has been the part the last few years. Last year, obviously, it speaks for itself. I'm with Mike on this.
The next name I have is AL MVP candidate Cal Raleigh. Very similar offensive seasons from both of them. I think Schwarber's might even be a little better.
Yeah, I'm gonna still take Schwarber. The on base, I understand the home runs with Cal, but I'm gonna take. And I understand the position as well. No, I'm gonna take Cal. He's a catcher. He's a catcher,
and he's a potential Gold Glove again this year.
He's a catcher. That's it.
Throwback to when Kyle Schwarber came up as a catcher.
Yep.
I feel like that's so long ago that everybody forgets that. Like the 2015 NL wildcard game when he had to look like a dead fish out in left field because the Cubs needed to play. I forget who was catching. I think it might have been. I don't know if Wilson Contreras was catching at that point for the Cubs, but that wildcard game in Pittsburgh.
I think it might have been David Ross.
No, it wasn't David Ross because Lester didn't start that game.
Okay, yeah, he was Lester's personal.
Arrieta started that game, so it would have been Miguel Montero. That's who it would have been.
Yep. Good callback, Miguel Montero.
Whoa.
Wow.
I'm with you guys though. Catcher playing Gold Glove defense at catcher and give me 45 home runs. You can't. You can't not take that.
Gonna have to take Cal there. The next guy I want on a purely offensive basis, because we know he's a better player, Jose Ramirez. Just the bat in the lineup. Who would you rather have?
Jose Ramirez.
Okay, Jose Ramirez.
I think I'm there. I think I'm there too.
I love Jose Ramirez, so he's not even like close to being in the Schwarber conversation as a total player.
He also has 35 stolen bases.
Yeah.
It's not even.
He's ridiculous.
Yeah, 30. Gonna have a 30-30 season. He's hitting over 295, 298 right now, and the OBP is not that far off of short. They actually have the same on base percentage right now, 371.
Wow. All right, last two guys. First is Kyle Tucker.
Earlier in the year, it's Kyle Tucker, but he definitely cooled off. I mean, we're just basing off of this year. I'm going to take Schwarber because the production numbers are way too high.
Agreed.
Yeah, I'm going to take Schwarber.
All right, last name I have, 100-point difference in OPS, but maybe still an easy one for Manny Machado as our 12th name, another NL borderline MVP guy.
I mean, if we're going to say the things we said about Freddie Freeman, I understand Freddie's a better overall hitter, but this season, I think Machado's either tied for the lead or up there with the lead in hits this season. Yep. He's hitting close to 300 at 296. The power is there. I'm going to take Manny Machado. He's been great.
Is this the best year that Manny Machado's had in San Diego?
Probably is.
And I'm not talking about statistically. It's just like because it feels like that this is the best year that he's had there.
Yeah, I mean, you can make the argument for 2022, but
that would be the only other year.
That's why I'm not. That's why I'm not outright saying this is his best year in San Diego. Because like, I wonder. Okay, do you say 2022? Maybe not. But
right now, 2022 definitely is. But let's see how this one finishes because he's been so clutch for them.
Yep, 2022 6.8 WAR. He had it's a great season. 898 OPS. It's the highest of his career. No, well, Baltimore he had that Dodgers trade year. Actually, he had a 905. But
I've always been a Manny fan. You didn't put him. I don't know if you put him on the list or not for the Hall of Fame. He's a Hall of Famer, right?
No. So we'll go right into the Hall of Fame stuff now. The reason he is not on the list is because I have a locks section and he is one of them, and I didn't want to include locks because I thought it was just pointless. So the locks for the Hall of Fame are, for me, Trout, Verlander, Kershaw, Scherzer. I put Betts in, I put Machado in, and they're not locks, but I'm not including Judge and Ohtani in the.
Okay. But they're locks.
Yeah, if they just have a couple more years, they're locks.
Yeah. Okay.
Because they're, how many multiple MVP 400 home run guys don't get in?
Yeah.
And
so you have
many of them have a career 3.5 ERA. So
you have Machado in as a lock.
I think Machado's a definite lock.
Okay, I would agree. I was
looking through, but at 32 years old, like he has to do very little moving forward to get in. Like if he had a 750 OPS the rest of his career, and you judge what those numbers would probably look like, he probably still gets in with all the Gold Gloves, with the defensive ability. But I think Machado's definitely in.
Okay.
So we go to our list now, guys, and we'll move quickly through it as we approach an hour here on the show. But Paul Goldschmidt is the first one, and he's a probably for me.
Yeah, Goldschmidt for me is in. I think he could move him actually closer to the locks. He's going to be at 400 home runs, good defensively, 4-time Gold Glove Award winner. He has the MVP. I think for sure a World Series would have helped, but he has the MVP. He's in for me.
Yeah, I'm more towards the probably side with Kevin. Again, having to, and one thing that I will say is, what are we deciding now as Hall of Fame? Like what is to us in the modern era of baseball a Hall of Famer? Because it's quite clearly 300 average. It's no longer the traditional benchmarks 300 average, 3,000 hits, 500 home runs, and things like that. I think if we're pulling those metrics down and, tailoring them to what great baseball players are in the 21st century, I think he's close to that. I could be convinced. I would not vote for him early in a Hall of Fame ballot, but I think he gets there.
I think we'll know on his first ballot if he's going to get in or not, just because you'll see the percentage and you'll know what it takes for him. If it's a smaller number, it's going to take a lot of people to be on him early, I think, for him to get in. But I'm a probably, and I think he should because, again, he wouldn't be the worst player there. Freddie Freeman, I think, is the biggest lock of the guys we're going to discuss now. He's 16 years in. I think he just needs – I don't even know if he needs a little bit more, but if he wants to be a first ballot, he probably needs a little bit more.
You could have put him on the lock list.
Could have put him on the lock list.
You could have put him on the lock list.
I'm surprised you didn't, Kevin, because I know we would always talk about how much you love Freddie Freeman.
I mean, Freddie's my favorite player of the generation, so I probably was trying to reverse my bias by leaving him off the lock list.
Yeah, he could have gotten.
How about Arenado? Kind of close to the Machado category, but offensively doesn't have the numbers, and I don't think he's going to have any positive years left in his career.
Yeah, I said no for him. I don't love the outlook in terms of, like you just mentioned, going forward, and then offensively he didn't do enough, and I'm going to hold the Coors Field factor to a little higher regard here because he went to St. Louis and those numbers dipped in a big way. So yeah, I'm going to say no, not yet.
I agree with you guys that he's not going to have any more positive years, but I don't care as much about the Coors Field. I don't care as much about the Coors Field factor as some other people do. I understand that. I'm not saying don't use it as a factor, or, if you're a voter, don't make that your deciding factor. But for me, I'm going to say yes, not because of the offense. The offense is not enough. If that was all that he had, he would not be a Hall of Famer. But, the defense is what's going to do it for me. He was the best defensive player in baseball 6 straight years in a row. So I put him in because of the defense.
No MVP, though. That's tough.
That is
no
tough.
MVP for him.
Arenado could be one of the guys that if he gets in, it's going to be because his defense was valued that much by the voters because he is one of those guys defensively. But I'm probably going to lean towards no. I think he just misses. One of those guys that hangs around for a little bit but just misses. Next, I have Chris Sale, who I actually think is a no. I think his strikeouts and wins career-wise are low, but he's definitely got a case.
I said yes for Sale. There's too many top 5 finishes here in the Cy Young Award, and then obviously the win last year. I think his 2024 season at age 35 really put him over the top, and he was having another great season this year as well, on his way to at least competing for another Cy Young. So it'll be interesting to see what he has left in the tank in terms of his 2026 season, but I would say yes for Sale. Too many top 5 finishes, and obviously has the one.
I'm a big yes for Chris Sale. I'm a big Chris Sale truther. The strikeouts and the wins are absolutely there. 2,500 wins. And the thing about Chris Sale was he was on a lot of bad White Sox teams.
I think the wins are going to get held against him because of the amount of years he pitched. But you're right, because contextually, it's appropriate. Like, he had a great career for the context he played in.
Can I just say this? You go.
Okay, I just want to make this one point about Chris Sale. The other thing is he lost what is effective 3 full seasons because of injury. 2020, all the COVID crap and everything. Then 2021 and 2022. And 2023, he was bad. That was his only bad year where you can just say he was objectively bad. Not stats were inflated because he was on bad teams. I can give him, if you are a guy who has missed effectively 3 full seasons and you're still going to give me 150 wins and over 2,500 strikeouts, I'll put you in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I think when you look at the way pitching is going in our generation, you're going to need to put pitchers in, because if you don't start putting, and I don't want to say you're lessening the value of starting pitchers, but if you don't start putting Chris Sales in, you're not going to be putting in a lot of pitchers in the Hall of Fame.
And in 17-18, he did feel like the best pitcher in the sport.
Yeah.
At least as a Yankee fan, seeing him a couple times a year, I thought Sale was the best pitcher in all of baseball in 17-18 when Boston first got him.
Seeing him in the World Series was not enjoyable at all.
Yeah, no, you got it just as bad too.
That was Kevin. You and I can trauma bond about that. And I mean, the fact that Chris Sale didn't win the Cy Young in 2017, kind of looking back at that, is kind of hilarious. And again, not to keep beating the dead horse on Chris Sale, but he had the best ERA in baseball in 2015 on a White Sox team. I think that was a White Sox team that lost 89 games. They lost in the 80s of games.
All right, let's just speed run through the rest of this now. I think those are the more interesting names. First, Bryce Harper, yes or no there?
I'm going yes. Bryce, 100%.
Close, but yeah.
Lindor, I think he still has a way to go.
He's got work to do. I think he's a probably.
I'd say no.
How about J-Rom?
Yes, I
Yeah.
think he is. Or at least he will be.
He's not there right now, but he's trending.
One of the most interesting ones, Altuve.
100%.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna take him a while though, because Beltran's definitely getting some heat for the sign stealing scandal on the ballots. So I think Altuve is gonna have a tougher time than he should, but I think he should get in. Garrett Cole.
I think he will get in. A couple more innings, couple more years here. I think he'll get in.
Yeah, he's gonna need another couple of good years. DeGrom.
Yeah. Yeah, again, same thing. Eat some innings. Let's eat some innings here.
I wouldn't vote for DeGrom, but I think he'll get in.
He should get us.
Sarge, how about Stanton? You had a comp for him.
Yeah, rapid fire very quickly. Giancarlo Stanton is almost the same type of baseball player as Harmon Killebrew.
Yep, that's a good comp.
If I go back and look at that.
Wow.
Harmon Killebrew, outfielder, 500 plus home runs, didn't hit for a lot of average. Giancarlo Stanton, he's got to get to 500 home runs or at least be very close to it. But last night when I was thinking about Giancarlo Stanton, I went back and I was like, let me find the Hall of Fame player that's got the lowest career batting average. And that's not to say that Harmon Killebrew is the one with the lowest career batting average. I just saw his baseball reference. I was like, that's the guy. That's the comp for Giancarlo Stanton. Harmon Killebrew can be in the Hall of Fame. Put Giancarlo Stanton in. Got to get him to 500. But if you get him to 500 or close to it, Giancarlo Stanton's a Hall of Famer.
Yep.
Yep, absolutely agree. How about Salvi Perez?
No.
Had a conversation about
also.
this. Had a conversation about this with my guys Clay and Charlie at Murray State back in March. Hard no.
Hard no. He's actually had a
Hard
worse
no.
offensive career than Posada, who has no business in the Hall of Fame either. So that's a no for me. Blake Snell, I know it's a huge uphill battle for him, but I included him because Mike and I said last year or 2 years ago he might be able to get into the Hall of Fame with a good finish with the Dodgers or Giants.
A couple of years
I'm
ago,
saying no,
I
though.
was all in. I remember the conversations, and now I'm saying no.
Another
Sarge,
hard no for me.
definitely no. Yeah.
Another hard no.
And lastly, do we think any of Kenley Jansen or Aroldis Chapman or Craig Kimbrell get in as closers?
Chapman has a chance. I don't think anybody else.
To be honest with you, I think they might all get in. They might all get in because they have high save numbers. I wouldn't vote for any of them because Kenley Jansen and Craig Kimbrell have had a lot of bad years with high ERAs, but they have, I don't want to call it this, but there's, for lack of a better term, stat padding. They've been able to get
All right.
25 plus save seasons with +3 ERA seasons because they've been playing on decent teams, but none of them are Hall of Famers.
So we have a couple Hall of Famers there, a couple not. We will be back next week, probably on Tuesday morning. Burroughs, Sarge, thanks so much for joining us. Absolutely awesome episode. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. Make sure you tune into No Good Takes with Giuseppe Alveri. New episode dropped yesterday. The Playbook with Gabe Zoda on Instagram and TikTok for short form content. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at BTO Media for our short form stuff. And also make sure to check out The Bunker and Mic'd Up. Big football week next week. Big baseball week next week as well. Big series for the Yankees and Mets coming up this weekend. So we will see you on Tuesday morning next week for episode 72. Thanks for watching.